Hey everyone, guess what? I'm having a workshop on April 12th about working through the grief from narcissistic relationships and how that impacts healing from narcissistic abuse and narcissistic relationships. In case you are already interested, the link to sign up is in the video description. Now, this workshop, and I've talked about grief in the past, but this workshop is going to get not only into what the unique grief of experiencing or potentially leaving a narcissistically abusive or narcissistic relationship, but tying all of that in to healing. When I've talked about it in the past, I kind of talked about it generally. In this case, it's going to be how does this get connected to how one heals from it. Part of it is identifying all of this and what it does, but then part of it is also how can I work with this? How can I think on this? How can I get it to the place where I'm not stuck in cycles of regret and rumination? But what are some of the things I can do? And that might even be things like having rituals, and we'll talk about what those rituals look like, right? When traditionally, when we talk about grief, we talk about things like funerals and other things like that. Well, what does a funeral look like here? Because we're going to kind of break some of that down. Very real things that you can do to sort of explore, if you will, this process of grief, but also, again, make it part of your healing process. It's so difficult when a person is going through the grief of a narcissistic relationship. A lot of people won't use the word. It's amazing to me how much survivors resonate. They're like, you're right. That's it. It's grief. It's not depression. Because they'll even say, you know what, in some parts of my life, I'm good. Like I'm getting through my days. I'm not depressed, but there's this heaviness. There's this sadness. There's this sense of loss, even when I wanted to be out of this relationship. And that heaviness and that loss can actually be very scary for people who think, well, maybe I made a mistake by leaving. And recognizing, like, no, you probably didn't make a mistake. But how do you process that loss? Because some people say, oh, I'm out of the relationship. This is so great. Now I can go and run and do the things that I want. And isn't this wonderful? But if you don't process the loss, and this is a very unique kind of loss because of the amount of confusion that these relationships bring, there's a real risk then you'll impede your healing process. Because I think some people say, great, I'm out, now I'm going to heal. This is kind of one of the harder parts of it. In a way, this, in some ways, we could have talked about this earlier when we talked about healing, because until you really process some of the grief, to work on the healing ahead of the grief is in a way putting the cart before the horse. Grief is part of the healing process, but it's something that really does need to be in a very intentional way gone through for you to heal. Now, this is a 1-hour workshop. In order to watch it, you have to be a member of my healing community, which does require you to sign up for a monthly subscription plan, which you can cancel at any time if you don't want to continue with the membership. So know that that option is available to you. As part of your membership, it's not just this 1-hour workshop. You will also get 3 journal prompts a week to allow you to sort of explore the themes of each individual month's program, the ability to attend a question and answer session, and that will happen later in the month, the ability to join in a guided meditation that you can use to sort of do some of that kind of really guided sort of leaning in work that you need to do here, access to a private and secure online community, a 2-hour pre-recorded refresher course about the basics of narcissism, and more than that. Just come on so you can learn what all of it is. All of the online events are recorded and available to watch on replay for the duration of your membership. And as I said, there is no pressure to stay subscribed. You can sign up for a month and then cancel if you decide you don't want to continue with the membership next month. I am really looking forward to doing this event, doing this workshop. I know that the topic is really difficult, but I think the reason I'm looking forward to it is I think that just understanding this grief framework really becomes such an important tool and an important way for people to really kind of start healing in a meaningful way. I think for people to recognize that the term grief, that the process of grief actually applies when we're thinking about what we feel like when we step away from narcissistically abusive relationships, it's really such a useful framework. And as always, I just really love talking with everyone about this, seeing your comments and recognizing that just simply having a place to have this conversation is a key part to not only helping you grieve, but more importantly, heal from narcissistic abuse and narcissistic relationships. Thanks again.